welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. I have a bag of grapes as decoration in this video apparently because London will not leave them alone. So I had to put them up here where she can't get them. Nyx is over here, London's running around playing. I'm sorry if this isn't the best lighting, but I don't really want to pull the lamp out because I don't really like that lighting either. But it is so hard to find a place to film in this house because everything is a mess because we're in the process of trying to get the house ready to move, get rid of stuff, donate, whatever else. So everything is a mess, and also because I have a toddler that gets into everything. I would have liked to film in London's room because it's the most appealing room in our house, but it has all this, a bunch of stuff from the attic all in there, so you can't even walk in her room right now. The spare room also has a lot of stuff from the attic that's all packed up in there. Christopher is sleeping in our room. And yeah, my only other option is the living room, but it's hard to find a place to set up in here, especially with London's stuff everywhere. So I'm in a corner. Hi, I have grapes and Nyx for you to look at, as well as my face. Anyways, the reason I'm filming and I'm sitting down is I'm going to be talking about my 2-week wait symptoms. So basically the things that kind of like clued me in on that I was pregnant before I tested. I don't want to say I'm like, oh, I felt this way in my 2-week wait, so that's how I knew I was pregnant before I got my test. Like, I had a strong feeling that I was just based off how I felt, but I knew that that necessarily wasn't true, that there were many other reasons for me to be feeling that way. This video is going up today. I am 9 weeks today, so when you're seeing this, I am 9 weeks pregnant. And yeah, I have a list in my phone of what symptoms I felt while I was waiting, and if you're not a part of the Trying to Conceive community and you don't know what the 2-week wait is, it's basically just the 2 weeks between when you ovulate and when you miss your period, when you get your positive pregnancy test, whatever. We use this thing called DPO, days past ovulation, where we say, oh, I'm 4 days past ovulation and I feel like this. I don't really have exactly when I felt what because I deleted my fertility apps, and I just have like a list of the symptoms themselves in my phone. But typically people don't get positive pregnancy tests until at least 10 days past ovulation. People can get them earlier. I personally got mine at 10 days. Some people don't get theirs until they actually miss their period, or even later sometimes. So that's why they say 2-week wait. Usually they tell you to wait till about 14 days past ovulation, which is when your period would usually be due. I tested earlier and I got my positive earlier. It just depends on the person. But like I was saying, the days leading up, like the days between whenever I thought that I ovulated, because I was not 100% sure in September of when I ovulated. I'm pretty, like I'm 99% sure now looking back what happened and when I ovulated, but at the time I wasn't completely sure. So, between the when I ovulated and when I started testing and getting positives, this is how I felt in those days. And honestly, I felt pretty bad. Like, I was having all sorts of stuff going on with me, and every day I was like thinking like I have to be pregnant, that's why I'm feeling this way. And I was kind of convincing myself that I was, in a way. Like, I just had the thought process that there's no way that I'm not pregnant and I'm having all these symptoms, but at the same time, technically it's not possible to get symptoms as early as I had them. People say you don't really get symptoms until you can get a positive test. But I just felt like crap those days. And those symptoms technically could have been for many reasons. Period symptoms and pregnancy symptoms, early pregnancy symptoms, are very, very, very similar to each other. So you can't really go off of your symptoms themselves on whether you conceived or not. Really all you can do is take a test. But Like I said, I just had a feeling that I was because of how I felt, which I'll get more into it when I'm talking about them, going based off of like when I was pregnant with London, when I had the chemical in August, and then all the months that I didn't conceive and I felt completely different. Like the days leading up to when I did get my positive, me and Christopher would be talking and I'd be like making plans for if I was already pregnant, even though I didn't know 100% sure if I was or not. And it kind of like made me feel better that I was being positive, like, oh, if I'm pregnant, we're gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and it made me feel a little bit better. But if I hadn't been pregnant, it would have made me crash harder, if you know what I mean. So I'm glad that I was pregnant, obviously. It took us 10 months to get pregnant from the time that we started trying. There were 2 months in between there that we didn't try at all, and we actually had to prevent it. But from the time that we started to the time that we finally did conceive was 10 months. I hate that I had to go through 10 months of that because it really did take a toll on me every month. But looking back, I'm glad that now is when I'm pregnant, because we started trying when London was like 5 months old, which is crazy. I don't know why. I just had really bad baby fever and really wanted it, and I'm not saying that I would have been upset if it had worked earlier. I still would have been happy, but I just feel like it's better this way because we're in a better place financially than we were. London's older now. She's gonna be almost 2 when this baby comes. We're getting ready to move and own a house. So we're just in a better place now, so it's a good time to be pregnant. And in my head, I don't really like to get into this kind of stuff, but in my head I'm kind of just like, things happen for a reason, and obviously this was the good timing, which is why I did end up pregnant this time. But, okay, now that I've rambled, I'm gonna actually get into the symptoms that I am supposed to be talking about today. So, like I said, I have a list in my notes. The first one I have written down is nausea, which, looking back, it wasn't really actual nausea, because once I got to almost 6 weeks pregnant is when I got hit with the real pregnancy nausea, and it was 10 times worse than what I had during that 2-week wait. Looking back, that nausea was more just uneasiness. It was just slight nausea, as in whenever I got to almost 6 weeks pregnant, it was full on, I feel like I'm gonna puke every second of every day. I can barely eat because I'm gagging and I feel like I'm just gonna puke after my 3rd bite of food. And I can barely sit up all day. I didn't want to get out of bed. I just wanted to lay on the couch all day, which is not really possible when I'm home alone with a toddler. So it was very rough. I still have pretty bad nausea. I randomly gag all throughout the day, and Christopher hates it. If I smell something really bad, it makes me gag. Rhea opened the fridge. The fridge? What? Rhea, how did you open the fridge? My fridge is now wide open because of the dog. What the heck? It was closed. It was fully closed. Now our dog knows how to open the fridge. Anyways, you stink. You poop. You poop. Are you still pooping? Why are you grunting at me? I don't know if you're still poop grunting or if you're literally just growling at me now. Ray, get out of the fridge. Anyways, what I was saying. Yeah, I just randomly gag throughout the day, and Christopher hates it. He's always like, can you stop? Like, can you not do that? I'm like, no, I kind of can't control it. Sorry. I've officially thrown up once so far, which I'm kind of happy about because I hate throwing up, but at the same time, I hate feeling like I have to throw up and not being able to. I still can't really eat as much as I'd like. Like, I'm very hungry all the time, but I just can't force myself to eat a lot because I feel sick. It's gotten better. I was literally not able to eat more than 3 bites at a time all day, every day for a week or two. Now I can eat like a small bowl of food now, depending on what it is. So yeah, the nausea was not as bad as I thought it was. It was just uneasiness. Now it's nausea. Dizziness, kind of goes in with the uneasiness, but I just basically like walking around the store or doing stuff around the house, I would get really faint and feel like I was gonna like pass out, and I'd have to like sit down and catch my breath, which is something I dealt with really, really bad with London throughout my entire pregnancy. I'm telling you guys, there was two main like episodes that happened that were really bad with London. Almost every time we went to Walmart, I felt like I was gonna pass out walking around. Like, I'd have to be stripping layers. Like, it was the middle of the winter at one point, and I would be wearing like a sweater and a jacket and leggings and snow boots and stuff like that because it's snowy outside. But I'd be walking around Walmart and having to take off my jacket, roll up my sleeves. I'm like flush in the face and I can barely make it through shopping, which really sucked. And there was one time that we were waiting in line to get like a money order, I think, to pay rent, and my vision started to go completely black, and I was like, I need to sit down or I'm gonna faint or puke. I'm hot. So I literally had to walk across to, so we were at the registers. There was that space that, you know, is at the front of Walmart in between the registers and like the bathrooms and whatever is usually on that back wall. And there was a bench on that wall that I was trying to get to sit down, and I could not see anything. My vision was completely black. My ears were fuzzy. I could barely hear. So I'm like walking like this, can't see anything. And I felt my way to the bench, and I'm taking all my clothes off down to a tank top, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god, I can't breathe, I'm gonna puke, I'm gonna pass out. It was horrible. Krister was with me that time, and that sucked. But there was another time, it was in the middle of the summer. Our old car had no AC, no idea why, and it really sucked. We went 2 summers with no AC in the car. Anyways, I was driving around by myself. I think I was like shopping for a washer and dryer because we really needed one. We didn't have one yet. Our first apartment didn't have the hookups at all. And when we moved here to this house where we do have the hookups, we didn't even own a washer and dryer yet. And I knew we needed to get one before we had London because we had just been going to a laundromat. So I was driving around and had one of those episodes while I was driving, and it was so scary. I could not find a place to pull over because it wasn't like a regular road where there's like grass that you can just pull off to. It was a road, and then it was a sidewalk, and then it was up ahead was a roundabout. So there was nowhere for me to be able to pull over. My vision is slowly getting more and more black, so I almost could not see anything. I was fuzzy and breathing. My ears were fuzzy. I was breathing really hard. Thankfully, there was a park right there, and I had to turn into the driveway to get to that park and just stop in the middle of that turn, like in the middle of the park's road. And I had to like lay the seat all the way back, start stripping my clothes off, and I had to sit there until I felt like I was better. And I was less than 5 minutes away from the house too, and that really sucked. It was really scary. So it hasn't been that bad yet. Like with London, I could barely do anything without feeling like I was gonna pass out and having to sit down. Like, I could barely clean, I could barely cook, I could barely shop. I couldn't do anything. I have had slight bouts of dizziness where it's just like if I get up too fast or if I get too hot. It's not as bad though. The next thing that drove me insane is I was so hot all the time. I'm usually always cold. We keep our house cold. We keep our bedroom at like 64. Now that it's cold outside, our house stays at 64. Our entire house stays at 64. It wasn't as cold whenever I was going through this, like we still had to run our AC unit, but it was less than 70 in here usually. But I was burning up all day long. Anyways, yes, I was just hot all the time. Trying to go to sleep at night, I was burning up. I was burning up all day sitting downstairs. I hated being in the kitchen over the stove cooking because it was so hot. And that's just not normal for me. I'm usually always cold. And here lately, now that I'm like past that and it's wintertime, I'm cold more than I'm hot. Which that doesn't make any sense. That's what bothers me. Our house is 64 all day, every day. And all day in the morning, I'm usually cold, covered up, my feet are freezing. But then I go cook dinner at the end of the day and come back to sit down to eat my dinner, and I'm hot, even though it's the same exact temperature in the house. So that doesn't really make any sense to me. I had some pretty bad insomnia. I was having a lot of trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. I felt like I was up and down all night. London had me up and down all night. Like there was a phase where she was up almost every 2-3 hours fussing, which she usually doesn't do. She doesn't do it now. She kind of like got better again. She usually would sleep through the night pretty well. Then for about those 2 weeks, she would be up and down all night long, and so would I. And then now she's back to pretty much sleeping all night. She might, every couple days, she might wake up like once in the middle of the night just for a second, but not as bad as it was in those 2 weeks. Exhaustion. I was very exhausted all the time. Not only was I not getting as much sleep at night because I was up and down, but I was just extra tired. My body was extra, like I was sore. My body was sore, my head hurt. Like I just felt like I could sleep forever. And the main kicker, one of the main kickers is, the best way that I can explain this is as gas pain. Very, very, very intense gas pain, like to the point that I would be curled up in a ball ready to cry. It would hurt so bad. And I remember it happening with London. I think it was before I found out I was pregnant with London. It happened in August before the chemical, before I got that first paint positive, and it happened this month. So I think that's something that only happens when I'm pregnant, because any other month that wouldn't happen. So that is one of my main signs that tells me that I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant, is if I get those gas pains. I had and still have really bad acne. It's not like, oh my god, really bad, but it's worse than usual. Usually my skin stays pretty clear, but around when I ovulate, I'll get like 1 or 2 big ones around my chin, which is normal with ovulation. And then usually those would go away, my skin would go back to being fine. But because I got pregnant, it did not go back to being fine, and it still hasn't. My first trimester with London, my skin was horrible, and I hated it because we didn't announce with London until I was 12 weeks pregnant. So I had to keep it a secret. Like I couldn't be like, oh my god, I'm pregnant, my skin is breaking out so bad. It was just like, I couldn't ever post anything of my face because how bad my acne was, and I didn't want to post that and people see it, but I also couldn't post it and be like, yeah, by the way, I'm pregnant, my skin hates me. So after I got past the first trimester with London, my skin was awesome the rest of the time. But for some reason, that first trimester, my skin hates me. It's not as bad on my face this time. Like I have spots all around my chin, and it's mostly on my forehead. With her, it was all over my forehead, all over my cheeks. I still have scars from them. But yeah, skin is bad no matter what I do. I'm even breaking out like on my shoulders, which I never get like back acne anymore. When I was a teenager, I used to get it pretty often, like on my back, on my chest. I would even get it on my neck sometimes, which I hated it. people at school used to think they were so funny and be like, oh, she's got fleas, blah, blah, blah. She's so gross, she has bugs. And I'm like, no, it's acne, I can't control it, but thank you. So yeah, I usually don't get it anymore, but now that I'm pregnant, I'm getting some on my back again. I hate it, but what can you do? I was having a lot of cravings. I wanted anything lemon. Every week when I went grocery shopping, I would get a container of lemon pound cake that the deli made, and I would eat that all week. I had to have lemonade all the time, and prior to that, I have always absolutely hated lemonade. I have never been able to drink lemonade ever in my life. I've thrown up the one time that I had lemonade as a child, but for some reason I wanted it. I got it one time when we went to the zoo with London, and ever since then, every time we went to the restaurant, I wanted pink lemonade, but they didn't have it, so I would either get regular lemonade or I'd be like, fine, whatever. And then I finally found lemonade at the store, but that kind of faded away. I don't know why this is so blurry. That kind of faded away. I stopped getting the lemon cake, and I still have my one container of pink lemonade from the store in the fridge that I haven't really been able to drink lately. But I haven't been able to drink much at all because of the nausea. I was trying to drink 3 bottles of water a day because I want to stay hydrated. It's good and healthy to drink a lot of water when you're pregnant. It's something you need to do. But I've been having trouble drinking even 1 bottle of water a day. Appetite increase. I felt like I was starving all the time. I was literally snacking all day, every day, and still felt like I was gonna die of hunger. I'm not even exaggerating. I'd wake up starving, I'd eat something for breakfast, usually like a bowl of cereal or something like that. Then all day long, I'd be eating pretzels. I lived off of sunflower seeds. I was always eating those lemon cakes and cupcakes and a bunch of junk, but I was snacking all day long. I would eat a ton at dinner time and still felt like I was hungry. It was crazy. I was super thirsty, which that helped with my whole drinking 3 bottles of water a day. Like, I felt like I could chug water all day long, but that is no more because of this nausea. I was super emotional. I've been a bit of a crybaby my whole life. I've always been pretty sensitive, but I've gotten over that the past year or so. I'm not as sensitive anymore. I usually don't cry unless I'm super over the top overwhelmed and I just break down crying over nothing. But that usually is only once a month, maybe. I don't cry that often, but I never would cry over TV anymore. Back whenever I was a teenager and I would be watching Vampire Diaries or any sad movie or anything like that, I would bawl my eyes out over anything. But I hadn't done that in years. I was so emotionally detached. When I was pregnant with London and stuff like that, and I would watch my favorite shows and things that I know would make me cry, I just didn't care. I never cried in Grey's Anatomy, and that's saying something because Grey's Anatomy is sad sometimes, and I never cried at it. But I started watching 911 during that 2-week wait, and every episode I cried at least 5 times. And when I say I never cry at TV anymore, I never cry at TV anymore. Until that 2-week wait, I cried every episode. And the last one is I had some of the worst headaches. I had a headache all day, every day it seemed. And it was horrible. I hated it. But I still get headaches here and there now, dealing with London and being pregnant and tired and nauseous. But whenever I was waiting those 2 weeks, it was all day, every day. And it was horrible. So yeah, those are the symptoms that I had during my 2-week wait that kind of made me be like, maybe I am pregnant this time, which I was. And like I said, the main one that I get in my head, man, I have to be pregnant if I'm feeling that, is those gas pains. That's the main thing. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below. If you're a fellow mom like me or a mom-to-be, let me know something that made you think or know that you were pregnant. Ray, what are you doing? Anyways, thank you guys for watching today's video, and we will see you next time.